Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Watchlist. Basically, think of this as a monthly TV guide for me to let you know what and when TV shows that I'm interested in and maybe you're interested in too are coming out. Like always, in the description down below, I will include any links to any trailers that may be available about anything that I talk about in this watch list. First up, on September 4th on USA, we have the Purge TV show. It seems like it's a limited thing for now, but it is a 10-episode thing. As the name implies, it is a TV show based off of the Purge movie series, which is interesting for me because I've never actually seen it in the movies. I know the premise behind them, and I've seen commercials for them. I've just never sat down and watched any of the Purge movies. It's always had an interesting concept, like what the movies are about, so I'm interested to see the TV show. I wish I had the movies in comparison, because at the very least, because it seems like the TV shows might have a different perspective than the movies. And I mean, obviously it's still keeping that formula of following a certain number of characters, but it seems like in particular we might be following 3 different stories in this series, and it seems like we might get a better idea of who they were before the Purge and what led them to kind of be who they are and do what they do during Purge night. What I'm saying about that is because I feel like with the movies it's just kind of like life, and then it jumps into Purge night, and then like, oh, the next day. Once again, this is just coming from someone who's never seen the movies. Like, if I had seen the movies, I think I'd have a better comparison of understanding like what the show might be doing a little bit differently than the movies. But just from what I've seen of the TV show, it feels like that in its essence is something that is doing differently, but maybe I'm completely wrong on that. So I'm interested to check it out, you know. On September 7th on Netflix, we have the season 2 premiere of Marvel's Iron Fist, which I'm super excited about. I've talked about this before. I know a lot of people were very kind of like, you know, not really too happy about season 1, which I'm like, hey, I understand people's criticisms. I really liked it, but that's just me. Like, my opinion is just my opinion. I'm actually very excited to see what season 2 is all about. Especially a lot of stuff they're set up, because it seems like this season, even more so than the first season, is going to be a lot more about his past, confronting his past essentially, because of stuff related to Davos, you know, without really going into spoilers and stuff like that. I'm very excited to see what season 2 has in store for us. On September 14th, also on Netflix, we have the series premiere of The Dragon Prince. It's this new animated show on Netflix. Basically, from what I've read, there's not too much I know about the show. Interestingly enough, it's by the head writer and director of Avatar: The Last Airbender, so that's pretty cool. But it's this action-y fantasy series about basically 2 princes who have to come together and work with an assassin who's basically, I think, came to kill them, to basically stop like this war between kingdoms and stuff like that. So that's the base, what I know. Like, I don't know too much about it, but it looks very interesting. Like I said, you know, it's very fantasy element, like has a very distinct animation style that I'm curious about, because I feel like there's an animation style that's similar, that like I'm comparing it to something in my head, but I just don't know what, because I feel like I've seen something very similar. But yeah, throwing that up there for me and anyone that might be looking for something animated. On September 24th on NBC, we have the series premiere of Manifest. Essentially, the show's kind of got this lost feel. Basically, this plane, there was an incident happened and this plane disappeared, and then when they land, they end up finding out that the plane and all the passengers that were there had been gone for 5 years. So it's kind of got like maybe this like maybe supernatural or science fictional feel to it. It's basically these people coming back to their lives and finding out how much has changed in these 5 years. But it also seems like there's a greater plot behind it, like they were taken for a reason, and it kind of draws these people back to everything, and the government's trying to figure the whole thing out. Like there's something more to it. Like, at least from the trailer I saw, they didn't give away too much. It seems like a lot of it's from like the first 1 or 2 episodes. It's kind of usually how that happens. So I'm curious to see what this big whole thing ends up being. Also on that same day on CBS, we have Magnum PI premiering. Now, Magnum PI isn't a series I'm that familiar with. I know a little bit here and there about the original series. You know, Tom Selleck's in it. That's about it. But obviously, it just seems like hey, he's a PI. It seems like obviously they're kind of rebooting the series. Now it's like, you know, probably, I don't know how much of it's being brought over from the original. It seems like it's, you know, it's kind of similar, because, you know, like Hawaii Five-O is under the same situation, because it was kind of a reboot. I think MacGyver is one too, so it's kind of like that thing, taking like an older, very popular show and bringing it into the modern age. It's basically Magnum, a PI, who's working with a team, kind of solving stuff, you know, action explosions type of thing. So I don't know, I'm very interested, especially as someone who's never seen the original series. You know, I think that would be pretty neat. And also on CBS on that same day is season 3 premiere of Bull. Once again, if you've never seen Bull, basically it's like this dude who's a psychologist, and I always say psychologist, but I don't know if that's the proper way to refer to him. He's a doctor of sorts, and basically he works with a team, and they do this whole thing of trial science. Basically, they try to pick the right jury, try to kind of like understand how people will react in a certain way, kind of build a jury to favor their clients in like whatever case it is in court or whatever, you know. So that's kind of their whole thing. So I'm curious to see what happens in season 3. Season 2 kind of left on a cliffhanger, something related to Bull. Obviously, if you haven't seen season 2, I'm not going to spoil it. But season 2 also brought up a lot of interesting things about the team. Like basically there's a whole like them not having a lot of money issue that came up last season. Plus like there was a little bit of animosity between Bull and the team. They didn't really like the way he was operating on a lot of stuff. I mean, near the end of the season, everything seemed like it was good between everyone, but I'm still curious to see whether any of that's carrying over. Like a lot of worries and concerns. I'm curious to see if any of that translates over this season. On September 25th on Fox, we have The Gifted season 2. If you're unfamiliar with The Gifted is, it is a X-Men show where we follow a group of, well, mutants. And it's a very nice show. I highly recommend, if you've not seen season 1, you should really check out season 1. I'm curious to see where everything picks up, because obviously season 1 ended off on a cliffhanger. Like, there was already like this big like, oh, mutants versus humans thing in season 1, but now season 2 is even more, because now it's turning into like there's 2 different group of mutants. It's kind of like the aspect of like, I'm trying not to give too much away, but it's like the X-Men versus the Brotherhood. That feel and aesthetic has like surfaced. It popped up at the end of season 1, and now you're going to see it come up in season 2. Like a lot of people dealing with the aftermath of season 1. Like I said, just everything's very divided. So I'm curious to see how everything gets handled this season. Also on that same night on CBS, we have the series premiere of FBI. Essentially, executive producer, you know, Dick Wolf, you know, all the Law and Order stuff, as well as the Chicago stuff, which is interesting to me because most of that stuff, typically for him, I don't know if any of his stuff has ever really been on CBS. It's always kind of been NBC. So for me, anything associated with his name on CBS just seems weird to me. But I mean, it is what it is. Not that it's a bad thing or anything. It's just kind of funny to me. Basically, it's just legitimately an FBI show, which is interesting because it seems like it's just like Law and Order, but like just full-on FBI. And I say that's interesting because there have been plenty of FBI shows, but usually there's something else to it. Like you take something like Bones, like that's an FBI show, but it has a specific thing, like approach to how it handles the whole thing, like its crime drama aspects, because it focuses on Bones. Like I feel like this might be like the first pure just FBI show without like some other like aspect to it, you know, is what I'm trying to get at. So I just think that's kind of interesting. So also on that same night on Fox, we have the season 3 premiere of Lethal Weapon. Very interesting. Like if you've never seen Lethal Weapon, essentially it's the movie's Lethal Weapon but adapted into the TV show. Season 3 is definitely going to be very interesting in many regards because it's a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not really going to dive into it too much, but basically kind of give you a little rundown. Basically, there's no more Riggs in the show, apparently. Basically, the actor, Clayne Crawford, there was this whole thing behind scenes, on set, blah, 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 blah. Stuff happened. They're no longer part of the show. Sean William Scott is replacing him. I was under the impression he was replacing him as Riggs. Turns out, I literally found this out last week. Once again, it's something I just didn't really read too much into. I only found out like last week because I was looking and trying to find out when Lethal Weapon's coming back. Turns out he's actually playing a completely different character, which is weird for me. Like, it's one of those things like, oh, it would have probably caught me off guard if he had, you know, if he had started playing Riggs. But in my mind, I was like, that would have been a little weird. Take me a while to accept it, but I would have just accepted. But it's even weirder in my head for him to play a different character. Just because it's like, well, yeah, because it's Riggs and Murtaugh, so it's kind of weird. Especially because you kind of can't help but go, oh man, that's super messed up. Especially because you know the way season 2 ended. But then again, it's like I can't say anything. I don't know the full details behind what went down on set, the problems that were caused and stuff like that. So I'm not going to. And once again, I don't want to comment on that, you know, because it's something I don't really know. So I mean, they had to make the choice they made. So it's like, you know, it is what it is type of thing, you know? So I'm very interested to see what season 3 ends up being. Another thing on that night on NBC, we have New Amsterdam, and it's going to bother the crap out of me. I will include an annotation to it, but it is the actor from The Blacklist who played Tom. Basically, it's kind of a new medical drama if you're looking for something a little more medical drama. It's basically, it turns out, from what you can see from the trailers and stuff like that, he's sick himself. I think he has like cancer or something. But basically, he's coming to this hospital and he's trying to change things up. He's trying to change people's approach, because it's kind of like, it's almost like we're putting the way things should operate at the hospital above, you know, at the expense of our patients. Essentially, we need to kind of put them first. We need to ask, what can I do for you type of thing. So it's him trying to change a lot of people's mentality about things. And it's like, oh, the hospital will never let you do it. It's like, well, let's do it before they let's try to help as many patients as we can before they find out what we're up to. So it's just kind of like, you know, like I said, someone trying to do a little more good. Maybe it's because of his own particular situation that's making him kind of have this change. Maybe in the past he was like any other patient, but now, you know, he's kind of seeing the world through a different lens because of his own particular situation. Or maybe it was always like that. I don't know. I'm very interested to find out, because I'm glad to see that actor. You know, once again, it's bothering the crap. I mean, I don't remember his name. I saw it too. It's literally in the trailer, but it's been a while since I saw the trailer. But I'm glad to see him in something else too. So that's all I'm saying. Which is me saying that it's kind of spoilerish. Well, not really. It's not spoil. Never mind. I won't go into that. On September 26th on ABC, we have a new show called A Million Little Things. Quite a few people in this show. God is going to bomb me. James Roday from Psych. It's got home dude who's been in so much. He was in Weeds, 40-Year-Old Virgin, or things kind of I best know him from. He's been in so many things. And also the actor who played Nick in Grimm is in it. I was like, whoa! Essentially, it seems like it's a drama. I feel like it might have a little bit of comedy in it, but I don't think that's going to be the main push. Essentially, this group of friends, one of their, like, it's this group who became friends after a certain incident, like they got stuck in an elevator or something like that, and afterwards they grew a deep bond, but they kind of lost touch with each other. Well, one of their friends ends up committing suicide, and the show is about this group of friends who had kind of lost touch away from each other, and now this sad tragedy has brought them back together. Each one of them's kind of dealing with their own lives, like different aspects. It's not just about them, it's about their families, like, because they're all, you know, married and stuff like that. Interesting enough, the actress from the originals who play Keelan is also in it too. So I thought, oh man, like recognizing a lot of faces in it. So I thought that was kind of pretty neat. But yeah, it just seems like a kind of like one of those like sad yet kind of maybe heartwarming type of situations, because like I said, each character's kind of dealing with their own thing, and it's like this sad thing kind of brought them together to make them kind of all whole again, kind of like appreciate, you know, it's like, you know, as the title kind of implies, I think it's like the million things. It's these little things that compound and become these big things. Or is it like, or at the very least, when it comes to life, you got to appreciate the million little things, you know, just kind of, you know, appreciate life and kind of, you know, it's just one of those shows. I'm kind of going off on a tangent, so I do apologize. But it seems like it might be one of those shows that kind of like touches your heart a little bit. That's just how I feel about it. On September 27th on NBC, we have The Good Place Season 3. I cannot stress this enough. If you've never seen The Good Place, you should change that. It's an amazing comedy. For one, like, I don't watch a lot of comedies. I just typically don't. I guess just sitcoms in general, I really don't. But especially these pure comedy. But it's such a unique show, and just everything that it does, because it's a comedy that makes me care about its storyline, because I'm like, oh man, it's funny, but also I'm curious to see where the story goes. Essentially, it deals with the afterlife. It's a whole thing, but especially everything that was set up in season 2. I'm so curious to see like where that goes, because the plot's constantly changing and twisting. You're like, oh, whoa, what, wow, that's happening. And I'm so curious to see what they do with a 3rd season, especially where our characters found themselves at the end of season 2. Right. Like, cause I had to say that because like there was one thing in my head where I was like, oh yeah, they left there, but then I remembered like, oh no, it's an even bigger thing happened at the very, very end. I'm like, yes, right. I'm very interested to see where that goes. Like, obviously I don't want to go into spoilers, but man, oh man, can I not wait to see what this season's all about. Finally, on September 30th on CBS, we have a new TV show called God Friended Me. Essentially, it's this guy, apparently his dad's like a preacher or a priest. He's not a very religious person himself, but then on a social media site, he gets friended by a dude, and someone claiming to be God. He doesn't really think much of it, but then it turns out, like, you know, like there's a show I really like that I can't help but make comparisons to. It was a sadly short-lived show, but essentially it seems like God is pointing him in certain directions. Like, you know, you help this one person out and it kind of leads to certain things. Like, there's a little bit of like domino effects type of thing of like, yeah, I put you in this person's path to kind of help them because they're dealing with some stuff. So a lot of the trailer I originally saw, which was a few months back, it seemed like it was mainly from the first episode. So interestingly enough, the lead actress in it, I kept wondering, I kept looking, I was like, why do I recognize you? Why do you look so familiar? Ended up looking up, it's the actress who plays Jessie on The Flash, Jessie Quick. So I was like, what? Oh crap, I feel so bad for not recognizing you. If you don't see The Flash, I won't mean as much to you, but to me, I was just like, oh, that's crazy, that's cool. So yeah, it seems like a very interesting show. And that brings this month's watch list to an end. Like always, if there's something that maybe I wasn't aware of that's coming out this month that you're interested in, that you think maybe me or someone else might be interested in, don't be afraid to leave it in the comments down below. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this video. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.